Hello everyone, and welcome. Welcome back to Dubliners 2019. I'm going to be unpacking two Gallants today, and what a great story. It's misleading, isn't it? Please make sure to have read this story. I kind of take for granted that you should have the text in front of you, but this story in particular, this caused one of several stories that caused Joyce problems getting this published, and you can see why. Prostitution, not only looking bad on the young women of Dublin, but equally as bad, if not more so, on the young men. But I don't want to spoil anything. There's a lot of symbolism in here, a lot of colors relating to England, Ireland. Just a lot to get into and unpack. It's a great story. Can't think of it. Let's get into this. Start unpacking this story. All right. So two Gallants. We have the story. If you're like me, when you came to the story, or coming to the story, first off, it's misleading, isn't it? The title alone, two Gallants, you think some decent people, not what they turn out to be. And this first paragraph is, I think, some of the most eloquent writing in Joyce. I might try to read it. I don't want to spoil it. The last 7 words alone, you've heard, if you've been watching these videos, you've heard me, I call it the rule of 3. I don't think it's original, because I know there's numerology in Joyce and that, so I don't think it's in all the papers on Joyce, but I'm going to research it, because I'm finding a lot of 3s in this, and that. Count the 3 times he says specific words in here. Warm and unceasingly. It's either changing or unchanging. Summer and murmur. Illuminated pearls and lamps. That just it's a great paragraph. So we have 2 young men, Lenehan and Corley. They're kind of like Abbott and Costello in a way. Lenehan is fat. He's 31. He's feeling old already. He has no hopes for the future, no hopes for a job, let alone a career, no hopes for romance or it's pretty bleak. At least Corley has more. He's got more pep. He's more charismatic. By far, he's got, the Irish call, not only gift for the gab, but the crack, down at the pub. He's one of those guys. Good-looking guy, too, And both reappear a lot in Ulysses, so that you can look that up yourself. Let's get into this. So, yachting caps. This is what young Joyce looked like. There's a picture. That's about the time that he met Nora. What's up with the, once or twice he rearranged the light waterproof, which he had slung over his shoulder in troubadour fashion, and breeches and rubber shoes. So the dude Lenehan's wearing rubber boots and a big raincoat. Does that symbolize, critics will say, baptism or condoms, prophylactics. And Lenehan is just all about this. I'm trying to find deeper if they mention, okay, now spoiler alert, if they mention the money beforehand, or they kind of lead us on, don't they? Because when I remember my first reading of this, I remember thinking it was going to be a sexual liaison of some kind, and even my mind went, to menage a trois or something, you know, in my mind. But, or it went the other way, as in I was real ignorant about Dublin, you know, 1906. Night town, Irish town, the Circe episode in Ulysses, this part of town. And Joyce takes you on it bears repeating. I repeated this in many videos. Takes you on a tour of Dublin. You can Google maps of Dubliners and Ulysses, and it will take you right through the characters' routes. But Lenihan just first, how many times does he say, takes the biscuit? Count them, 1, 2 right there. And then a few pages later even, 3 times, not a few, but 2. Lenihan laughed again, noiselessly. Of all the good ones ever I heard, he said, that emphatically takes the biscuit. And then, for except some biscuits, which he had asked the grudging courage to bring him. I just have a note in here, that takes the biscuit. You know, what's the deal with these biscuits and biscuits? It must symbolize England, I think. We'll get to that. Let me get past the first page. Yeah, you Lenihan just talking strangely. That takes the solitary, unique, and if I may call it, I know how to pronounce this, recherche. It takes the recherche biscuit. You know, recherche, I guess, means choice, dainty, delicate, elegant, exquisite, fine, rare, select. Lenihan's attempt to show off. He's kissing Corley's white Irish ass. When I read this, I don't know. A lot of vernacular and slang in here. You know, what's this? The cigarette deal. And Lenihan, they're leeches, you know. We know what that is. Just bad all around. He's, remember old Jack, the opening of Ivy Day in the committee room, you know, his little hustle for matches and how I mean, if you got to hustle for a cigarette that hard, you don't quit. That's what I say. Lord, these people are just mooches and leeches and, what do we got here? Okay, pay attention. I almost missed this too. The end of this paragraph. No one knew how he achieved the stern task of living, but his name was vaguely associated with racing tissues. Now I try to read mindful, deep reader, but you can easily read that as racing issues, like he had a gambling problem, right? It's racing tissues, these betting slips that you could pass out, and literally they're tip sheets. If I could write a little smaller. But also it's gambling addiction. Gambling was illegal at the time in Dublin, so Corley is he's bragging about his newest conquest. Donnybrook is a cool part of outside of Dublin. I was lucky enough to stay there for like a month. I had a friend and his brother and wife and kids. Family took a holiday to Spain. You know, just a brief jaunt over there for a month or so, and I stayed there by myself in a 2-story flat. It was great. Still had milkmen delivering that, and he's knocking on my door. Oh, can I take your order? I didn't know. They didn't warn me about it. It was great. Horse carriages, periodically, not routinely, but it was great. I would walk to University College Dublin. Back to the story. But Stephen's Green is mentioned in here, and Lenihan takes a route through there. Now, University College Dublin is right on facing one of the streets of I don't know by heart, that's how well I remember, but there's a bust of Joyce in there, like metal, bronze perhaps, but it's nice, Lovely. But yeah, they're, when you're reading this, are you thinking, they're talking so, you know, I didn't know it was a prostitute until like mid-story or later, but because I didn't get the vernacular. But she's up to the dodge. Anthony Trollope lived there apparently. So I didn't know that. I'm going to read some Anthony Trollope for this Victober. To the dodge. Don't I have a note on that? What does that mean? I think it means something about abortion. Pims. She doesn't know my name. But she thinks I'm a bit of class. Here we go again. Crowley's is gift for gab is way with the ladies. Now this next paragraph is quite phallic, by no stretch of the imagination. So this whole story has all kinds of euphemisms in it, doesn't it? Sexual innuendos. If you think about, let's see if I can find one. Is she game for that? You can never know, women. You're what I call a gay Lothario. Gabe mentions that twice. Do you think you can pull it off? This talk of pulling it off. But like read that, let's get to this paragraph even before all that. Corley was the son of an inspector of police, and he had inherited his father's frame and gait. He walked with his hands by his sides, holding himself erect and swaying his head from side to side. Here we go. His head was large, globular, and oily. It sweated in all weathers, and his large round hat, set upon it sideways, looked like a bulb which had grown out of another. It always steered straight before him, as if he were on parade, and when he wished to gaze at someone in the street, it was necessary for him to move his body from the hips. Okay, now, yeah, he was present about town. About town means out of a job, I guess. Crowley runs into drunken Stephen in yeah, episode 16 of Ulysses is great. Anyway, hard word means a hot tip on the horse races. But we have Lenehan offers Crowley a cigarette, which I have a note that's kind of unusual for a leech and a guy. He offers him a cigarette. Maybe he's watering him up, you know, kind of oil in the barrel. So they're walking, and Corley occasionally smiles to one of the passing girls, and he's having a nice old time. Lenehan's gaze is on the moon. Nice touch with Joyce talking about the moon here and later on. But Lenehan is concerned about the time. He's concerned about drinking. And that means that he knows. Do you know what they're after the girl for yet in this part of the story? All these little words. Used to. I know that game. It's a mugs game. Now, what does mugs game mean? In this case, I'm asking because I don't know. You tell me on that. Anyway, some of these double entendres. What is, no. The Theatre Royale. Oh, yeah. Lothario. This note is going to, it refers to the dead, which we'll get used to. You know, he used to try to spend money on girls and be nice to him, and it got him nowhere. So now he lets them pay for everything like that. So here is where she's on the turf now. That's where we the first inkling that she's walking the streets. She's a prostitute. And, you know, wow. Then it comes out, how about this? Icad. Coley, you know how to take them. That's 18th century. I declare, Icad. I'll pull it off again. Pull it off. You know, what's going on with the, you know, I'm going to pull it. What's going on, you know? So, yeah, she's a fine tart, blah, blah. The harpist in the street. This isn't your, like a homeless guitar player or homeless harp player. They used to have official harp players with big harps, apparently back in the day like that. And that'd be very nice. The song, Silent O Moyle, Silent O Moyle, I'm going to put the link below. I'll put the link below. It's a song that is, it's a melancholy for Dubliners who are crying in their beers and a real reminiscent, that kind of song. The mournful music followed them. They're going through St. Stephen's Green again. You hear the noise of trams and the lights and the crowds, and there she is, the girl. So you can see what happens. Catching the light. This red flowers were pinned in her bosom, stems upward. And that's from a killing that took place. That stuff about the harp, you know, and the mournful, melancholy things. I think that's a question for us to think about, like what's become of the great Irish young men. Or I don't know, that one paragraph. Okay, he's walking listlessly round Stephen's Green. He's going out, you know, he's killing time. We're back, this Rutland Square in the dark, quiet street is back where the sisters took place. And he comes to this bar. Okay, notice the white letters, a cut window or a cut ham exposed on a great blue dish near it, on a plate lay a segment of very light plum pudding, so that's red. We have the white letters, the blue dish, and the light plum pudding is red. That's a British flag. Here's the biscuit part after that. And he goes in. He has enough money to buy a pint of Guinness if he wanted to, but he's going to eat instead, which is curious too. No twist. You'd think he'd spend all his money on drink. But no, he gets a plate of peas and a bottle of ginger beer. And a long butter knife to eat the peas with. I mean, what kind of luncheon is that? Well, the green of the peas and the orange of the ginger beer. Add the white, you got the flag of Ireland. So anyhow, he'd be 31 in November. Would he never get a good job? Would he never have a home of his own? You know, he paid 2 pence, halfpenny to the Slattery girl. Second time he said that, and you know she's all dirty and unkempt. So I guess they serve peas there. No butter or salt, pepper served. No, just a plate of peas. It's funny to me. I don't know. So he leaves. Runs into the people. Now it's not just 3 characters. He runs into some friends, and they ask him about, have you seen Corley and that? And he says, yeah, I've seen Corley. I was drinking with him at the bar. I'm gonna see him later. You think he'd lie? If he knows about the money, and he does, he knows what Corley's going to ask his girlfriend. His girlfriend, who's on the turf, the prostitute, who he kind of gets mad at Lenehan for wanting to look at her. You know, you're trying to, says that vernacular, you're trying to like steal my girl, but he says you're trying to like snap to it, or who knows what he says. So why do you think Lenehan would lie? Say, no, I haven't seen Corley. That money's for me to drink with, but he doesn't. It's 10 p.m., getting kind of late, and he lights his last cigarette, but then he finds his second to last cigarette, lights that too, because he lights 2 cigarettes. It's kind of strange. You think, it's funny, isn't it? He strikes a pose under the lamp. Great. So he's waiting. He knew Corley would fail. He knew it was a no-go. Some minutes pass more. Oh, he sees a girl. Now, check out this paragraph. Some little movement, some choreograph going on here. They see him. The girl leaves Corley. And Corley's, shuffling. The girl comes out and coughs, signals Corley. Corley goes back, sees the girl leaves again, Corley takes off. Lenehan's going, WTF. Chases after Corley, yells from his stop. Hey, dude, what's up? He runs after him some more. Lenehan hurried in the same direction. Some drops of light rain fell. Anxiety and his swift run made him pant. He called out, "Hello, Corley! Hello, Corley!" He called again. Did it come off? From pulling it too much? Did it come off? Still no answer, Can't you tell us? Did you try her? So Corley finally doesn't even say anything, goes under a lamp and shows him this coin, a gold coin. Okay, now a gold coin can only mean one of 2 things, either a sovereign or a half sovereign. And they're both pretty penny, put it that way. Put it this way. Evelyn got from her father, from begging and pleading and all that, she would get that much money in a week. Evelyn, of the story, 2 stories before. So with that gold coin, these 2 guys are going to be drinking for a few days. Pitiful. Let's see. Critics have suggested that the woman's hesitancy to hand over the money, give the money to Corey, suggested that she might have stolen it. And I don't know what the big difference would be if she stole it or made it by prostituting. Which would make Corley her pimp in a way. Not in a way, but yeah. So, there we have it. Were you surprised? What did you think? It's a lot to unpack, and I didn't do every little detail. I'm not even, I could do a whole video. Maybe I will. There's enough time, 2 weeks left. Thank you for your comments. Do a video about the streets and how they're walking through Dublin and the River Liffey, and show some pictures. I try to add some pictures. I should say, hey, look at this picture now, for people. If you're like me and watching YouTube, my habits are to multitask. I'm not sitting there glued to the phone. All this is on my phone. I do everything on my Android. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions, if any. Next story is going to be, what should we do? A boarding house? Yeah, let's do that. Maybe I'll do 2 in a row. But you can see I'm starting with these stories blank. This is my last page of 2 Gallants, and it's all marked up, right? Okay, little notes and everything, little annotations. And I'll get to all those. So turn to a boarding house, it's virgin, pristine. I'm starting new with these stories. And it's been a great experience for me. I want to thank everyone for, I don't know where the idea started, but I'm going to pursue it. There's a thirst for Joyce on BookTube, and I'd like to be a part of it. I hope to see you there.